Good matchday morning, West Ham fans. Let's talk about some more transfer news. Why not? It is January. Yes, everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you're safe and well. Happy game day morning. It's match day morning, and we play Bristol City later on. How exciting. Are you excited? I'm excited. We're both excited. That's good to know. If you're new, Andy, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share. I don't know why I'm pointing so much, but hey, I'm going to go with it. Double points. It's relentless. Transfer window. Rumours are relentless. You turn your computer off for 1 minute and another 12 come in. And we later on, sort of lunchtime-ish, we talk about Mohamed Kudus. When could he be back? And also about Rob Newman's involvement in the AFCONs as well. It's quite interesting. But there's been a spate of new rumours. Actually, someone we covered before. But we're going to talk about it again because three's easy. Three's a nice number. And it's got a bit more traction since we last spoke about it. But let's talk about the first guy. Apparently, according to several sources, Jota. West Ham are keeping an eye on the situation when it comes to Il Ittihad's forward Jota in the January transfer window. That's according to Sky Sports. The news outlets on Monday reported that the Hammers are weighing up whether or not to go into the market this month due to our current injuries. And they're looking at potentially the 24-year-old Portuguese player. However, it could be problematic somewhat due to his £200,000 a week wages with Al Ittihad. Now, obviously, it's a bit different for Jota because they signed him and they didn't actually have space for him in the squad. So he's sort of not at a club, but had a club. So it's unlikely that West Ham would be willing to pay Jota's full salary because that would break the complete wage structure at the club. Before he joined the Saudi Pro League, he obviously played for Celtic, loads of excellent performances, really exciting player. And then he made the switch in the summer to the Saudi Pro League for about 25 million quid. And he was sort of the first youngster to go over there, so to speak, where it was they were recruiting the likes of Benzema, there were, Ronaldo, sort of the older Neymar, the older statesmen, the guys coming to the end of their careers, where Jota was very much at the beginning of his career. I mean, he hasn't really hit his peak just yet. As we said, his current situation in the Saudi Pro League is very bizarre because he wasn't included in the club squad. So he's seemingly looking for a way out of the country. And so far, no one's really decided to take a punt on him. Spurs were interested or were rumoured to be interested. So obviously he worked under Ange at Celtic, but nothing materialised at all there. It's someone we have an interest in, but again, it comes to everything. I mean, the yesterday's news, as we predicted, in terms of Everton and Nottingham Forest both being sanctioned or having charges against them for FFP violations. So we knew it's going to happen. And that's happened to a lot of other clubs as well. As I said, the likes of Newcastle, with all the money in the world, to be able to sort of invest in the side because of the FFP restrictions they have, they would have to sell probably someone like Isaac and Bruno, in all honesty. So yeah, it's not the greatest situation to be in, but I think you'll be seeing a lot more loan deals in the next couple of weeks for players who need to move on for game time or just to be in a squad. So Jota could be West Ham bound, but we'll wait and see any further developments. Another player that we've been heavily linked with for a long time is Calvin Phillips. Now, according to Sky Sports, they ran a story which was corroborated with X beforehand that us, Crystal Palace, Everton, Newcastle, and Juventus are all interested in the Man City midfielder. We're led to believe that Newcastle have pulled out for a loan deal for Calvin Phillips because of the sort of price tag Man City have put on his head for a loan deal. They simply cannot afford it, and I don't think anyone can really afford it. City's preference would be to sell him rather than go out on loan, but a loan move hasn't been ruled out. And by all accounts, they're looking for around between £5 and £7 million for a loan fee, and then taking most of his £135 a week wages off their books. So obviously several clubs are believed to have made initial approaches to register interest, but it seems that some kind of deal, they're going to have to be prepared, City, to offer. They might want five million quid and 135 grand off their books, but they're not going to get that to get him off there, to get him, some game time and get him off the bench. We know Moyes is a massive fan of his. And indeed, his vision was him and Phillips and Rice to be working together at West Ham, which didn't materialise. So it's an area we don't need any players. I still, we spoke about it yesterday in the sort of afternoon show about Pablo Rosario. And that's the way I think you should go. He's probably going to cost the same, roughly, or maybe a couple of £1 million more than getting Calvin Phillips on loan. And you've got a player there, and he's going to be less on wages as well. I think that makes more sense. But don't be surprised if you hear more about Calvin Phillips to West Ham. As I said, Newcastle would be the obvious sense, particularly, they need a player to cover Tonoli, and Phillips was high on the list, but according to several Newcastle sources, including and also the chief exec and Eddie Howe, they said they literally can't spend any money at all, and so because of PFF, FFP, or that's PSR, profitability and sustainability regulations, they're literally stuck. Everton can't really buy anyone. They've just been done, haven't they? Juventus possibly, but again, it's money involved for them as well. And the only stumbling block for us is the wages, I'd suggest. We'll see. It's a strange one. It's a strange one, the whole Calvin Phillips thing. We don't need him. I tell you what, we need a CDM backup, and you either get someone like him on loan, but he won't play. But then, if we're investing that much money in him as well, he'll have to play, and then you've got to change everything around again. You've got to rejig everything. Whereas someone like Rosario or someone who's maybe a youngster who's a CDM, they can sit on the bench. Same as someone like Jota. If we got Jota in, he'd want to start, and the chances are in maybe at least say 2 weeks' time, you could have Paqueta back, you could have Bowen back, and you could have Kudus back. So he would be sat on the bench, maybe. One person that we spoke about actually about a week or so ago, and X has spoken about him a lot more recently on his Patreon, but we'd spoken about it a bit before as well, is the Ghanaian star Ibrahim Osman. We've spoken about him. He's currently at Danish club Midtjylland, which is where we got Winnie Reid from, if I remember correctly. Part of the Ghanaian Academy Right to Play. I can't remember off the top of my head. Right to Dream, it's called. And the academy which Kudus comes from. Speaking to the Ghanaian Hammers about him, he is. If you think Kudus is good, this guy apparently is mustard. He's 19. No numbers have been discussed for him, but the likes of Arsenal are after him. Barcelona, some big clubs have already earmarked him. I think the prominence of Kudus in the Premier League this year has opened people's eyes to maybe the African market. I think you'll see a lot more scouting at the AFCONs. I think you'll see a lot more teams investing in academies in Africa as well, because they've got some fucking good players, in all honesty. And Ibrahim could be someone. X was doing a thing with GA the other day and said that he fully expects him to put a bid in for him regardless. Apparently, everyone likes him in terms of a player. So we'll see. We shall see. But I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Again, the trouble is, I think what happens is, you talk about players and people will say, I don't know. I've never heard of him. Can't be good. I've never heard of him. But then the trouble is now, Steinton, the way he works and the way he's his MO is you'll be picking up these players you won't know of. So as I said, go and check out about Pablo Rosario from Nice. That's someone who we're linked with. 27 CDM. Could see that one happening easily. Makes perfect sense, particularly as we know, as I said yesterday, Steinton was in Monaco sorting out the Tilo Kira loan, but it was only a loan deal. Why are you out there sorting it all out? Nice is just down the road, isn't it? Just call me Sherlock Holmes on my Mind Palace. But yeah, so it's going to be fascinating to see. I think you definitely see some movement ramping up in the Premier League completely. I think we've had the latest round of sides getting done for FFP restrictions. So you'll see a lot of people going, shit, we need to get rid of wages. And anyone who's doing well, FFP wise, will be taking some bargains. Look at Brighton. Valentina Broca from Boca Juniors. Honestly, that signing of the January transfer window for one of the signings of the season, man. One of the signings of the season. Anyway, that's it. Take care. Stay safe. Stay warm. Stay humble. Yeah, a couple of hours time, I'm going to do a little show about Mohamed Kudus. I think we might get Anton going live at lunch. Who knows? And then we've got the Predicted 11 show. And then we've got the watch along for the Bristol City third round FA Cup replay at Ashton Gate. A sellout at Ashton Gate. I'm calling it the 72-point derby because my firm, 72-point, their head office is in Bristol. And we have an office in London. So it's the 72-point derby. And many of them are going to the game from the Bristol side. Not one of them offered me a bloody ticket. Much love. Bye-bye.